Hi everyone and welcome to another astrology update. Today I'm going to be speaking about the Venus retrograde season coming to an end today, where once again Venus is standing still in the sky, preparing to go direct tomorrow. But of course this doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet, because she still has to transit her shadow path. But if that wasn't enough, she is still going to be holding a conversation of tension with Neptune, a conversation of tension which she held before she went retrograde and during her retrograde. So we had a very powerful, confusing, and almost surreal energy of that square between Venus and Neptune. But right now we're getting the most positive expression of that Venus. But towards the 27th of July, Venus is going to be holding yet another square with Neptune, but this is going to be a totally different kind of energy. Of course, there is going to be elements of confusion, illusions, and all of that attached to it, but that will be a moment when we will have the power, the wisdom, the experience, and the inner strength to embody our truth and simply, cast off, wash away all the confusion and everything that might threaten the stability and the clarity of our inner truth, especially regarding the matters of the heart, and of course, the relation of the heart with the mind. So right now we are definitely getting the most positive expression of that Venus, and it is preparing us for the time, 27th of July, once that square between Venus and Neptune is going to be resumed and is going to be extremely powerful. But at that moment, it is definitely going to be a motivational energy, an inspiration, even if it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, to embody our principles, our truth, everything that we hold sacred about what we think about love, matters of the heart, our feelings, our emotions, and of course all of our values. But before I get into a more detailed analysis of this Venus, I also have to mention that today is going to be a very, very unusual day where there can be a lot of unexpected twists of events, surprises, awkward situations, unusual, weird, unexplainable events, feelings, situations, because the moon holds 4 quincunxes, which are minor astrological aspects which create either surprises or awkwardness or unexpected situation, and the moon holds this with Mars and Jupiter and Neptune and Pluto. So unexpected situations can reach you from your job, from that area of your life, the professional area of your life, your career, your work environment, your colleagues, for example, your superiors, even your relations with, organizations and institutions of the state. But at the same time, this awkwardness can also arise from you, from your emotional world, from your unconscious mind. From the past, you might meet people from your distant past in a very unusual way, by coincidence, but either way, it can be a day of surprises, awkwardness, weirdness, very unusual vibes or states of consciousness. But of course, we shouldn't take this in a very negative way, because this is simply divine humor, where we get linked to certain areas of our lives which have absolutely nothing in common with each other, and that's how these very unusual situations or feelings or ideas or communication is going to be born. Also, we have a lot of sextiles in the sky, and basically these sextiles are the predominant celestial conversation, which is, harmonious energy, inspiration, motivation, ambition, inner power to do something, take a certain action, make a choice. But even though there is this very powerful celestial inspiration and divine guidance energy in the sky, it might not feel that very much optimistic, that very much ambitious, because we have an almost anoretic Mars in the sign of Pisces, which means that it's getting very, very close to 29 degrees of that sign. And an anoretic degree is culmination, especially karmic and subconscious culmination, because all of this has to do with the sign of Pisces, a sign of purification, a sign where we can see the conclusions, the resolutions, the big picture, which has everything to do with the past, the distant past, the story of our lives, even past lives, and of course everything that has to do with our inner world, emotion, the unconscious mind, so everything that is stored or repressed there. And since Mars is the activator, it can trigger very powerful karmic discharges, purges, moments which serve purification, releasing the past, accepting or surrendering something, closures. And you know that energy, how it manifests, that usually leaves very heavy emotional states. So even though the sky is filled with humor, inspiration, motivation, divine empowerment, it might not be felt this way because of that very strong Mars. And yes, absolutely, it holds a sextile both with Pluto and Jupiter from Capricorn, and that represents manifestation. That represents that our emotional states right now have a certain power even over matter, but the feelings can be very, very heavy, intense. Mars assertiveness, over ambitiousness, almost obsession, especially when it forms a conversation with Pluto, its higher octave. But either way, this energy, as uncomfortable as it can be, it still provides progress, momentum, motivation, the time of action when things, evolve, when things are set in motion, when we have to make choices, decisions, and take action is just starting, and it's going to get that much more intense, dynamic, after Sunday, the 28th of the month, when Mars finally exits the sign of Pisces, where it was, drowned, where it couldn't bring forward its more dynamic and quick qualities. But all of this changes because it enters its home sign, the warrior, the action-oriented, the initiator sign of Aries. So we are going to have a totally different Mars there. But, at the very beginning of this period, it can be a much awaited energy, a breath of fresh air, mobility, dynamics, everything that we could possibly need. But unfortunately, it stays here for the next 6 months, and it's going to form a lot of tensionate, aggressive, celestial dances, especially with Pluto. This is also where its retrograde is going to take place. Then it will form connections with its sister Eris, a planetoid of discord, revolution, rebellion. So we are heading into very intense and uncomfortable, aggressive, assertive, revolutionary, rebellious times. But we still have some time until we reach that point. So immediately after it enters its home sign of Aries, we can get the most positive, uplifting, inspirational, motivational, ambitious, inner power expression of Mars, which is absolutely going to get things done. What needs to be eliminated, closed, resolved is definitely going to reach this state of completion, because we will have the inner power and we can, enact and be committed to our own choices. But at the same time, if we need to initiate something, if we need to start something new, if we need to be brave, bold, if we need to risk, if we need to stay strong, be endurant, fight for our rights, fight for our principles, our truth, it doesn't really matter. Or, be persuasive, especially in regards to matters of love, because that Mars from Aries is also going to sextile Venus, goddess of love and beauty. So that is also a really good aspect for love. But we'll need to be courageous and ambitious. And Mars in Aries is going to definitely give us all of those higher qualities. But it is later on, towards the end of the summer, end of July, when we're also going to be seeing the most assertive and aggressive expression of that Mars. But we still have a lot of time until that. And what are we going to do with our times, with this window of opportunity, when we have that most positive expression of Mars? Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna learn, we're gonna embody the truth, and we are going to build up power, protection, clarity in our heart spaces. And this is how we reach the analysis of this Venus going direct. Because basically, this big, larger picture of Venus retrograde has taught us how to solve, pacify and navigate through conflicts of the mind and heart. Because, we have so very many moments of these throughout life, and many times we don't even know that that is our issue, that our minds just are not in harmony with our hearts. The heart wants and even thinks a specific thing, and the mind tries to rationalize it and goes in a totally different direction. And of course, this can also play out in a totally different manner, where there is the survival mentality and a conflict between that and the compassionate nature of, love, unconditional love. But even more simply put, this Venus retrograde season in the sign of Gemini was a really, really much needed energy for us to figure out what it is exactly that we love with the totality of our heart. What it is that we can invest all our feelings into, all of our love, all of our inner creational and nurturing energy. And when we had the square between Venus and Neptune, that was the negative expression of this. So everything that was misaligned with us, all of our illusions, all of the projections, society and other people, like family, education, whatever, cast onto us, was made clear so that we can abandon it. We can, stand from a place of truth, so that we can have the discernment to know what is true to our hearts and what is only a conditioning that we inherited from outside of our beings. For example, society, education, school, parents, etc. And of course, it also showed us what our true passions and desires are by eliminating and revealing to us everything that is, not healthy inside of us. Everything that is like an obsession, like an overambitious desire, like an unhealthy expectations. So we had all this time and opportunity to eliminate it. And the eliminations sometimes are even more positive than, being passionately aligned with a single purpose, where you're willing to sacrifice and input everything that you have into it. Because by knowing what is not really important to your heart, to your soul, to the person who you are deep inside of you, well, that gives you the chance not to squander your power, your emotional power, your energy, your love, on things which aren't really that important to you. That doesn't mean that you cannot give it a good shot to accomplish something, to do something, to invest love and emotional energy into something, but there has to be a limit. If it doesn't please you, if you feel that the sacrifice is simply not worth it, compromises and strings attached are not worth it, well, then you already are in a position of advantage, not just from a human perspective, but also like material perspective, because you wouldn't invest money or time or resources, and even from a karmic perspective, because you wouldn't invest energy and precious time of your life into something that only resonates a little bit with you. And from a totally different perspective, this is where for some people this energy, this highly uncomfortable and confusing energy of this Venus retrograde just reveal to them who it is that they truly love, what kind of partner could they accept in their lives, what is the most important to them. For example, for some people it is definitely like soul level connection, for other people intellectual connection, where the fact of being understood by someone correctly without misinterpretations is maybe more important to them than passionate fiery feelings, while for other people maybe matters of the body and convenience is more important. This is where we cannot judge anyone for what is important to them, but they need to figure it out. They need to have all of this very clear in their minds and their hearts of who they are, what it is they love, what it is that they need in their hearts and lives, of course, because that position of clarity can help them attract exactly what they need in their lives and block out everything that is imperfect, everything that would have loads of strings and compromises attached. So basically, it doesn't matter what you love, it doesn't matter what your tastes and preferences are, and regarding anything that has to do with matters of the heart, may it be an activity, may it be romance, may it be your relationship with the self, self-worth, self-love, everything that has to do with love. Because when you know what you want, when you know your truth, at least the truth of your heart, which is basically imperative, you cannot argue with it, you cannot forcefully change it, because it is who you are. Accepting your heart is accepting yourself. And standing from a place of total clarity is definitely how we make sure that we attract and invest all our energy, love and resources and whatever into those things that are truly significant to the wholeness of our being, not just who we are, for example, professionally, and then we sacrifice everything just for one area of life. This is where we embody the true wisdom of the heart and of feelings, which doesn't work according to the same logic and principles that the mind or maybe our survival self works with. So either way, this was a very powerful and relevant and important karmic psychological lesson for all of us, and a journey of self-knowledge, which is definitely going to help us navigate in the future. And this is where we can manage resources and opportunities that enter in our lives that much better, because once we know what we truly like and what we love and who we are inside of our hearts, well, that is already a massive advantage, because we will never try to do things like other people, not try to fit any mold, to do things like a specific way which has been taught to us or said that this is the general rule. This is where we do things truly our own way, based on the truth inside our hearts, and if that truth is accepted by our minds as well, then we are already one step closer to success or having a very successful and fulfilling life. And now when the planet of love and beauty is going direct once again, we can embody all the wisdom that we have learned throughout this Venus retrograde season, and this is where we can use this energy to make ourselves that much more attractive and magnetic to all of those things that we discovered within ourselves that we truly love. So if you're looking at the big soulmate connection, if you want to attract the biggest love of your life into your reality, well then this is definitely the moment when you being aligned with your truth can actually help you do that. This is where moments of synchronicity, fated moments, karmic manifestations, all of that can be possible because once you stand from a place of truth, your own truth, well, destiny, fate, and the divine intelligence can work that much more better and quicker and in a very improved way towards your greatest advantage. Because, by you possessing and holding your truth, it's like you uploading very, very specific and clear instructions to the divine, where you just give the frequency, the, specific harmony of what you desire to experience. Then the universe can use that, frequency, that blueprint which you provided to it through emotions and by embodying your truth, desiring it, but standing from a place of clarity. That is much more efficient than just giving the universe like practical mental information, like this is what I need, and you make the list A, B, C, etc. When you just give it the harmony of a frequency that you would like to operate on, that is much more mathematical in the eyes of the universe. That is like you upload like concrete data which it can use, rather than you trying to specify things that are only relevant in the human world and don't even exist outside our human sphere. So by aligning with your truth and who you are deep down on the soul level, heart level, you help the universe help you. You help the universe conspire in the most ingenious and masterful ways towards your greatest advantage. So very many times aligning with what you truly want is much more efficient from a karmic and, metaphysical and even spiritual perspective than being that much ambitious and determined your way or the highway, bombarding the universe with very specific details. For example, this is what I want, this is when I want it, this is when I think I need it, it has to come in this form, this color, etc. That is confusing for the universe. That may provide us with some kind of mental clarity, because our mind can just grip on a simulation. But for the universe, that is maximum confusion. It doesn't work like that. The universe rather prefers a frequency, that this is what I want to experience. And since you are infinitely more intelligent and clever than me, you solve it. And if the universe would require some additional information or specification, well, it can get it from you in the most miraculous and easy of ways. For example, it can use synchronicity to play a specific song for you, and it will trigger a feeling, and that's all the info the universe wishes. Or it can just make you watch a movie and, play a scenario in your mind, and it can already download, so to speak, your thoughts, your specifications, how your mind processes this and that. So when the universe wants some details or info or specifications, well, it can get it from you without you even having to worry about it. But the main frequency of what you desire, now that is something it has to get directly from you. Even if this Venus retrograde just terminated your relationship and really, really, really confused you, and you eliminated all the illusions, all the misaligned beliefs, everything, but didn't really gain any clarity or what you desire truly, it's no problem at all, because even not knowing is better than knowing something fake or misaligned. When it is the case that you simply do not know, well, then you're just inviting the universe to experiment. So it can give you a lot of new, random, unusual experiences where you just experiment, you try this and that and that, but it's still more positive than, being aligned to something which is actually not true, which is just a lie, illusion, or a delusion or wishful thinking. Because when you simply do not know and this is what you tell the universe, well, look, I simply don't know, well, then it can invite you to a massive adventure of self-discovery, to try different things. It can make your life really interesting, and it can offer you all the experiences you need to discover within you what it is that you would like potentially. Venus retrograde season was really beneficial regardless of how we look at it. Only in the coming weeks and even months can we truly be able to see in a very practical way that all the uncomfortable, frustrating, confusing, emotional, melancholic, you name it, energies which were like a torture when we went through this retrograde season, we are going to be so very thankful in the coming weeks and even months for that, because when all the opportunities are going to enter our lives, we will be stand from a place of, clarity, self-knowledge, self-trust, and, aligned with our heart spaces, and that makes us take action, make choices, decisions, without any regret in our hearts, without any fear of choosing in a very unwise way. And when an opportunity just appears where it sings to our hearts and our desires, then we know that that opportunity is meant for us, and we can just seize it, we can embrace it without any second thought. And this is what this Venus retrograde has prepared us for. Well, thank you so much for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Until next time, bye for now.